I am on a journey towards discovering higher versions of myself. And just like every journey, it gets pretty lonely sometimes. This is why I've made it a goal to bring as many people as I can on this personal development journey towards higher versions of themselves, towards achieving that dream life, towards fulfilling your purpose, towards being all that you can be. No more mediocrity, no more playing it small. I am Judith Bengo, and this is the JM Show. Boluwatife Adesoye is a multi-passionate content creator, author, and storyteller, dedicated to inspiring and motivating young adults to do simple things in incredible ways. She's committed to telling human stories as authentically as possible. Boluwatife creates content that reflects the human nature in the most authentic way. She does this in order to make people unmask and inspire them to be who they are authentically. She is the author of personal development book called You Should Probably Know This, a book that provides actionable and realistic steps to overcoming procrastination, lack of motivation, and helps the reader make better decisions across board. Boluwatife Adesoye has created a community of over 1,000 plus creatives and entrepreneur young adults across the world who trust her judgment on personal development and wellness. Everyone, meet my guest for today's show. How are you doing today, Bolu?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
I'm good, amazing. It is such a huge privilege to have you on the show today. I am so grateful that you agreed to do this.
I'm so honored to be here.
Please, briefly, can you talk about how you got started, like with blogging, content creation, and all there is? How did it all begin?
Okay, I started creating content in 2018. And at that point, I had a broken leg. I was at home for a very long time with a cast on my leg. So obviously, I couldn't move and I couldn't do NYSC either. Then I decided that instead of staying at home, and I was honestly genuinely bored. That's how this whole thing started, from boredom. And I decided that, you know what, I'm going to make the best out of this moment. I'm going to try and not be bored. And so I started creating content for specifically females. Then I realized that the kind of ideas and energy I wanted to put out in the world was beneficial to both male and female. And so I decided to switch up my content to accumulate everyone and like to bring everyone in. And this all started with a need of seeing people a lot better than what they were when I met them. That's my goal, to leave people better than they were when I met them. And I have tried to consistently create content that makes people breathe easy and makes people understand that it's okay to be human. But while you are okay being human, you can strive to be the best you can be. You can commit to excellence while you are human. That's how this whole thing started.
Amazing. So, most young people will go through the motions of, oh, I don't know what my purpose is. Oh, I don't know what I'm supposed to do, and all that. Do you see purpose as a doing word? Because from what you've described, you started blogging solely for women, and as you got better, you sort of rediscovered more things and more things that you could do. Or what do you see purpose as? Do you see it as something that you find out mystically, or it's something that you find out by doing what you're actually doing, like in the now?
Yes, I believe that clarity comes from engagement. And so the only way that you can get clear on whatever your why is or whatever your purpose is to keep doing things. Continue becoming better. You realize two things. Either you like what you're doing or you do not like what you're doing. And so if you do not like what you're doing, you will stop what you're doing and then you'll find other things to do. So you can't sit at home and wait for purpose to meet you. You have to go out there and discover purpose. And this comes from a place of self-awareness. So you have to realize who you are, what kind of energy you want to put out in the world, and what kind of content do you want to consume. Because a lot of times the content we put out is directly or indirectly linked to the kind of content we ourselves want to consume. So you have to go out there and do the work it requires to gain the clarity.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you so much. I feel that it's like a lightning bolt point for someone who is thinking purpose is a mystery, because I find a lot of people saying, I don't know what I am supposed to do. I don't know what I am good at and all that. For me, I agree with that point. I feel purpose is a doing word, and you will discover more when you actually do. From the point of being a creative, I would like you to speak on this famous quote, perfection being the enemy of good. I believe that sometimes people want to do, I don't feel there's anyone who just wants to be sloppy. I feel people actually want to do, but content being perfect, something being perfect just stops people from going ahead with it. So what do you think of that famous saying, perfection being the enemy of the good?
I think that that's actually a very true statement because while you try to be perfect, you need to understand that it is physically not possible to be perfect. Because if you are perfect the first time, what are you going to improve upon? Life should be continuous improvement. I believe in continuous improvement. So if you're trying to start off perfect right now, what are you going to do next? Everybody's now going to see everything that you are possibly capable of doing at a time. You're going to have to accept the fact that you will do crap at some point, but you will not stay where you are. You will continue to improve. Like I said, life is continuous improvement. So you're going to have the mentality of it's okay if I can't do everything I want to do at this point, but I will start regardless and I'll keep moving. I didn't start off with a really large camera or a DSLR with lights and all these things. Like I said, I started with a broken leg, a Nokia phone on my bed. That's how I started. I didn't start off perfect or any other thing, but I realized that this is a step, this is a phase, and this is phase one. And before I get to phase five, I'm going to have to go through one, two, three, four to get to phase five. So if you're continuously waiting for perfection to come, it's never going to happen and it's going to stunt your growth and it's going to steal your joy. And I believe that perfectionism also comes from comparison because you don't know what is perfect if you're not looking over your shoulder. So I face your work, run your race, focus on the goal in front of you. The only person that you should compare yourself to is you of yesterday. So you continuously ask yourself, how can I be better than I was yesterday? What can I do better than I did yesterday? Face your work. That's the most important point. Face your work.
Face your work. Amazing. Amazing. Like, I hope you guys are jotting down things as you're listening to this podcast because I am. As I'm recording, I'm jotting down things. You said if you're perfect the first time, what are you going to improve on next? Like, that's an amazing point right there. Then face your work, really. Face your work and compare yourself with you. By the way, your book is amazing. I read it and it is amazing. I like how brief it is. I like how straight to the point it is. And it just speaks to you. You know, when you're reading some books, you're like, let me just skip to the important part. But for your book, it wasn't like that. It was direct and straight to the point.
Thank you so much.
I feel everyone should read it. I feel because it's an everyday struggle. It's an everyday, every life struggle. Thank you so much for sharing that with the world. So in your book, you said
Thank you.
amazing. You're welcome. In your book, you said goals give you a clear direction and systems drive you there. For me, that was a PowerPoint, and I was like, I'm going to ask you on this
Thank you
this
for
question.
reading.
So most people know that they should set goals, but I like the angle you came from. You said build systems instead. Wow, you said goals. So can you please talk a bit on building systems and what that could mean for an everyday Nigerian youth or an African youth? What would that mean in our own context?
Okay. Um, Goals are great. I believe in setting goals. I have an entire book dedicated to every goal I have set in my life. But I realized that setting these goals is very elaborate. When you say, my goal is to hit 1 million followers by June, that's a very elaborate goal. Possible, but elaborate. But the systems you set, that is, engage with this person twice a day, create content consistently. Those are systems. And when it comes to creating content, how will I create this content? For who will I create this content? What is the template for my content? These are systems. Systems allow you do things with ease. Systems make you do very big things with ease. So when you create goals and set systems and put things in place, whether it is softwares, whether it is people, whether it is templates you've already created that help you do these things faster, save time, save energy, save money. The systems help you drive towards the really elaborate goal that you are working towards. So while it is achievable to do all these big things, they are probably not going to do them if you do not set systems that are small enough. When I mean small, the smallest viable thing enough to help you get there. Setting a goal to make 1 million followers is a great goal, but the smallest viable thing is to engage with people on Instagram. That's the smallest thing you can do to get there. But then it seems very infinitesimal to the very big goal that you have written down. But when you compound these things, little things compound. I believe that small drops make a mighty ocean. So when all these really little things you have done and all these systems you have set in place compound, you realize that one day you wake up and you're like, oh yes, I've gotten to my goal. I didn't even realize it because you have set systems in place. And these systems also help you after you have set the goal because you don't have to go back and re-strategize. A lot of times you just have to add one or two things, tweak your systems. And because you have set a template for achieving a particular goal in a particular area, it is easier to achieve the goal.
Wow, wow, wow. That's a lot. Guys, you should read this book. You should read this book because I got a lot of points from it, like a lot of power points from it. I'm going to read another point out now. Where you talked about fear and ambition, I feel fear is real and fear, everyone faces fear. You said we all get scared, at least nervous. Everyone with ambitions and goals feel a slight fear when they are about to start anything new or not. Where fear and ambition overlaps, that's where motivation is. It is the oh my god, I'm about doing this. I doubt I can, but I will because people need it. If I don't do it like this, nobody will feeling. That's amazing. It is no news that fear holds people back. We're all capable of great things, but very few people explore their greatness. So I want you to share practical ways which you deal with fear when it comes, practical ways people can employ in their life to deal with fear, basically.
I think the most important way to me, and this is what I have found that works very well for me, is I know why I'm doing what I'm doing. I know the people I'm doing this thing for. I'm very sure of the particular, I'm not trying to do this for everybody. I'm not for everybody and not everybody will like me. I've come to the knowledge of that not everybody will like me. So I have internalized my why. I've told myself, this is why you are doing what you are doing. And this why means a lot to you. This is why I tell people, know your why. You can't just wake up one morning and say, you want to do this. Why are you doing what you are doing? What do you hope to gain? What are you trying to add to the world that no other person can do? If you don't do this thing, are we going to lose a lot? Like, what are we going to lose if you don't do this? So I have told myself that if you don't do this thing the way you do this, Bolu, the world is going to miss out on this because I understand that there is a place for me in the world. I know why I'm doing what I'm doing. I know who I'm doing it for. So the minute fear kicks in, I realize that I can't be afraid because of the people that need what I'm about to do. There are people out there who are waiting to hear what you have. There are people who are waiting to use your products. There are people who are waiting to use your services. There are people who are waiting for you. And so the minute you realize whatever vision and goal that has been placed in my heart by God or has been placed inside me, they are for people. And I cannot allow fear rob people of the greatness that is me. This is the point where you get proud. You can't allow people rob people. You can't rob the world of your amazingness or your awesomeness. You have to tell yourself, this is the reason why I'm doing what I'm doing. These are the people I'm doing it for. A life of service is a life well. So when you come from a place of service and a place where you are serving people from the bottom of your heart, not just because you want people to say, oh my gosh, you're such a great person. You are serving people because you know people truly need the gift you have. And you are serving them because you like people. You have to like people to be able to do this without fear. And so the minute fear comes in and you remind yourself of why you're doing this, I think fear basically dissolves after then. It dissolves. And also, fear leaves emotion. Like when you are emotionless, fear has the power to overshadow you. But when you take the first step, have you noticed that when you have stage fright and you start talking, the stage fright for some reason magically disappears? Because all these things they can't exist when you are emotion, when you are doing, when you are working, when you are doing the work it requires. There's no time for you. There's no time to be afraid. You won't have the time. And even if you're afraid, the feeling of doing great work will trump the fact that you are afraid of doing the work.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you. Thank you. That's powerful. If there's one thing I know you do well, is being consistent. I don't know how you do it, but you do it so well. I mean, you post every day on Instagram, you send mails every morning. My God, please, can you let us know how you stay consistent?
I create systems that allow me to be consistent. This is a practical example. On Sundays, I prep for my entire week. And so on Sundays, even if I do not write out the mails, because a lot of times I wake up at 5 and I write the mails on the spot at 5 o'clock. So even if I do not write the mails on Sunday I sit down and I think, what do I want people to know this week? What am I trying to put out to the world this week? A lot of times a week I have a theme. For like last week, my theme was mental health. So every content I put out last week, though they were different, but they all had the same theme. So on Sunday, I sat down and I asked myself, what am I trying to let people know this week? What is in me? What have I been thinking about that I want people to know this week? And then whatever it is, I decide that, okay, this is what I'm going to be letting them to know this week. Also, I know my why. That this knowing your why makes everything so easier for you. When you know your why, the how becomes so much easier for you. You realize that once you've internalized your why, a lot of times the how clicks. You know that, okay, this is why I'm doing what I'm doing. So how am I going to do this thing for these people that I'm doing it for? You have to know your why. You have to know your who, and you have to know your what. So why am I doing it? Who am I doing it for? And what am I doing for them? Once you get these three questions answered, it's very, very easy to be consistent because every day you wake up with the knowledge of what you're doing, who you're doing it for, and why you're doing it. So consistency is a breeze for you.
Wow. Wow. Okay, okay. Amazing. That is amazing. You sound really grounded in your values and your beliefs. I want to know how, like, what exactly you do for personal development, how you, ways in which you try to improve your mindset, and ways in which you try to build these values and systems around you.
I read a lot. I will never ever discredit reading. I read so much. And my newsletter people know I'm constantly sending them new books that I read. I read a lot. Reading helps you enter into the mind of other people. So it broadens your thought process. So even if you're not reading actual paperback books, you're reading blog posts, you're reading articles, just you're packing knowledge into your heart. And it helps that I grew up in a family where my both parents are readers. My parents read so much. So I think it helped me a lot. And like I got so used to seeing books around me that subconsciously I could just be walking and I'll just pick up a book and start reading. Like it became subconscious to me. That helped me expand my mind, expand the way I think, because reading helps you think better because you are seeing things from another person's perspective and as well as your perspective. So you're trying to reconcile the both ways. So when I create content based on the perspective I have and the perspective that I have read from. So it's easy for me to find a common ground that people can relate with because creating content from your own perspective is not sustainable. And like nobody will listen to you if you're just creating content for you. You're going to have to go into the mind of other people and see what are these people thinking? What do they feel about it? How can I reconcile what I feel about this with what they feel about this? How can we come to a common place that is both sustainable and productive for the both of us? So I read and I spend time brainstorming. I have a board in my room that I'm really proud of. I have a big board in my room. So I just write ideas and I mind map. So when I write an idea, like I put down an idea or maybe motivation, I try to draw out different things from it. Like I literally mind map whole motivation. Why should I be motivated? What if I'm not motivated? That kind of thing. That's how I am able to create content that seems wow, but a lot of times it's just from other people's minds that I pick from.
Wow, that's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing because most people think that they think, but they actually are just regurgitating their thoughts. So for you saying you actually brainstorm and have like a board where you write down these ideas and feed on them and read other, I mean, collect information, read other articles from different places and make it into one. That's amazing, because if you're just thinking like regurgitating thoughts, you would not really get creative, and your type of creativity actually only comes from like a deeply inspired place. Before you go, I just want you to advise someone who is starting out their content creation journey, and also mention something that you wish you knew when you started out, like common mistakes that should be avoided.
If you're just starting your content creation journey, you you have a whole episode where you are bothered about the numbers that you have. And I'm going to tell you that numbers, while they are important, because numbers are important, they show that you are doing great work, but you're going to have to serve the small audience you have first. You're going to have to focus on the smallest audience that you have. If you cannot serve 5 people faithfully, I promise you, you cannot serve 1,000 people faithfully. And I had this whole phase in my life where I was so obsessed with numbers, and I was wondering, why is nobody commenting on my post? Why is nobody liking my post? Why am I not getting DMs? And why am I not getting emails? I promise you, right now, I have emails that I'm staring at, and I have not had the time to reply. Because if you cannot faithfully serve 5, you can't faithfully serve 1,000. So while it's good to have 1,000 people in your community and reading your emails every day, and that's a great thing, it's such a beautiful thing to have so many people wanting to read your work. I also want you to realize that if you have not been able to consistently give value to 100, the chances that you ever get to 1,000 is very slim, because people talk. So when people look at your work and they are seeing that you have 100 followers and you're not even consistent with those 100, there's a very, very big possibility that they won't pay attention to you. And another thing is, while you want to be consistent, consistency is not just doing it every day. If you are going to be consistent posting 3 times a week, be consistent posting 3 times a week. You do not have to post every day. Some people have created systems that allow them post every day. You might not have. So you start small. You try and build your way up. You try and create a pattern that works for you, specifically for you. If your favorite content creation is creating 2 times a week, it doesn't mean that if you create 2 times a week, you will make it. If your favorite content creator is creating in black and white, you don't have to go and make all your posts black and white. Do stuff that works for you. Create from who you are. If you do not like black and white posts, there's no reason to be doing it, even if that's what gets the most likes on Instagram. Like, realize that you are on this journey, not just for yourself, but you are trying to reach people. You're trying to serve people. So if you're coming from a place of service and you are creating from a place where you are waking up every day and saying, how can I serve my audience today? It's easier for you to scale. It's easier for you to create. And a lot of times these things comes from self-awareness. So I tell a lot of content creators that I speak with that they should be self-aware. Know yourself. Know what works for you. Know what does not work for you. Know that if you are a content creator who makes cakes, this is a random example, and you make cakes, and the only way you can showcase your work is by snapping the cake. You don't have to do a time lapse of your cake. Your people who want to see pictures of cake will find you. So you don't have to try and behave like another content creator, because people can tell. I promise you, people can tell. Have you ever gone to like a content creator's page and you're like, oh, this is so similar to this other person's content? People can tell when you are people know when you have copied somebody's content. They know. And when I see these things, I feel bad for them, because people do not understand the kind of potential they have in them, and they try to be other people when you have so much inside you. I promise you, you have so much inside you, and you do not have to copy somebody else.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you so, so much for sharing that, because I see it a lot too. I was on someone else's page and this person used even the same logo pattern with another person. I'm like, why? Why did you do that? Fine, you
That's
guys
how
are
it
into the
is.
same thing, but can you, yes, can you not just think for yourself? Really? Can you not just, and I see it and I'm like, oh my God, why? Why? So thank you so, so much for speaking into that. I feel like a lot of people need to hear it. Your mind is powerful and you're capable of so, so much. Just deploy. All right, thank you so much, Bolu, for being on the show today. So, please, do you have any products my audience can get? Any project coming up also, and where can we find you? Because we need to connect with a glimpse of your awesomeness.
I have a free ebook. That's the book she was talking about. It's completely free. You can find it on my website www.bolutifea.com. And also, I have a coaching session. I have one for 1 hour and I have one for 15 minutes. So you can check out both packages on my website. You can also follow me on Instagram and DM me questions. I try my best to answer every DM by myself. So even if I can't answer you today, I promise I will get to your DM. I always answer every DM. So you can follow me on Instagram at Boluwatife.
Thank you so much for agreeing to do this. All the details, everything you mentioned will be in the show notes, the website, the necessary links. So guys, just look at the show notes of this episode and get all you need here. And you should definitely follow Bolu. She has amazing content. Her page is one of the finest that I have seen.
Thank you.
Congratulations, we're making significant progress on this journey already. Remember the journey I spoke about earlier? We are one step ahead right now. Please do not forget to share this podcast with a friend and leave a review on Apple Podcasts for us. I'm sure that by now you've subscribed to the show, but if you haven't, do so now. You can follow the conversation on Instagram at thejm.show. We want to hear from you. We want to know what your nuggets were from this episode. You can also send in your questions via email or via voice notes. We would appreciate your support to keep the show going, so do well to make a donation. All the details will be in the show notes. Till next time, keep living.